And the third game and final game we're talking about on this episode is Wingspan.
Designed by Elizabeth Hargrave. Artist is Ana Maria Martinez Jaramillo, Natalia Rojas, and Beth Sobel. And published by Stonemaier Games.
You're a BA if you have more than 3 names.
I was going to say I wasn't expecting a 4-name word or a 4-name name, but it was. I thought it was 2 separate names.
There's a lot of art.
I wish I had more names, honestly. That's not being sarcastic. That's for real.
I got a name for you.
This is a PG podcast, Eric. So we're not going to go over all the rules for Wingspan, mostly because it is the hotness right now, so everybody is playing it. And secondly, there's no need to go over all of them. It's a game about birds. All right, we're done. No, I'm just kidding.
And collecting birds.
Yeah, it's collecting birds. So the easiest way to describe this game is at the end of 4 rounds, whoever has the most points wins. But each round, each person has so many action points. So basically, you have a player board in front of you. You have 4 different actions that you can take. The basic action of playing a bird, in which you're going to take one of the birds from your hand, which are cards, and you're going to play them into one of the 3 rows on your player board. These 3 rows are basically going to amplify the other 3 basic actions, such as laying eggs, which will allow you to put eggs on your different birds, or drawing new birds from the display. There's 3 on display plus a deck, so you can draw one of the cards or from the top deck. And then getting food in order to play these birds. There is a bird feeder, which is a dice tower that you roll the dice in, and they just sit there until you draw them. You take the die out and you gain a token of that food type. So the idea behind it is when you do a basic action such as lay eggs, the first empty slot in the row is the one that you're going to take. So as you have birds laying down in those spaces, you're going to play a bigger action of the basic action. And in addition to that, you're going to activate all the birds in that row that have an ability that says when activated. So not only are you amplifying the basic action, but you're also getting extra actions on top of that from the actual birds that you've played previously. And then each player has, I think, 8 actions they can do in the first round. At the end of the round, you have a board off to the side that's in end of round scoring. You determine who wins that. It's stuff like whoever has the most eggs in the water birds or whatever, or whoever has the most birds that live in trees that have an egg on them, stuff like that. So you calculate who wins, first place, second place, third place, there's ties or whatever. But in order to put a token there, you actually take it from your action markers. So now the next round, everybody only has 7, and then the third round you have 6, and then the final round you have 5. So you get less actions as the game goes on. It is also worth noting at the beginning of the game, you get to choose from 2 in-game scoring cards, but you can also get more of those throughout the game. And then at the end of the 4th round, whoever has the most victory points wins. You get victory points from a various amount of things. Basically, birds have a static amount of points on them. For every egg that is on your birds, it gives you points. Eggs are also used as a casting cost, basically, to play birds further into the row. So if you have a row that already has 2 birds, to place a 3rd bird, I believe it's 2 eggs. So you are spending eggs as you play the game, but you also get 1 point for them at the end of the game. You also get 1 point for any birds that stashed cards underneath of them or stashed food underneath of them because they're hoarders. And whoever has them, and then you get points from the end of round scoring stuff. And then whoever has the most points wins. Anything else we'll talk about as we talk.
Bonus cards that you...
I talked about them.
Okay, never mind.
Anyway, we'll start with George. What'd you think of this bird game?
I love it. It is the hotness for a reason. It's a fantastic game. It's very pleasant to play. Exceptionally pleasant, really. Non-confrontational. There's almost no...
No, I can't think of anything that there is take that in. Although
there's actually cards that you root for other people to do stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. I want you to hunt because every time you hunt, I get to hunt. Or
so
whatever.
You're involved in their turn, but you're not directly confronting the other person.
Right.
So you're just building as you go, and then you sort of create this engine, and you get to run the engine on the last turn of the game to good effect, and you feel good about that. So it's a very positive experience, I think, and it's beautiful. The art, all the birds, all the components.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. It's a gorgeous game.
Which I kind of thought it was weird that they made the eggs different colors, but it does make it look really nice on your board.
Yeah, but that's a clear indication of expansion content right there.
Yes,
right.
I would say.
If they don't capitalize on that, then
get specific
weird.
color eggs for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not a birder. I don't, go out and watch birds and do all that kind of thing. But I love animals, so I'm already attracted to the game. But now this game is sort of making me into a birder. Like I'm paying more attention to birds on Facebook and just articles that come up and birds that I see in the wild. I'm just starting to pay more attention.
And you'd be like, oh, that's a whatever bird because now you know.
Right?
Yeah, it's educational.
It is. There's an educational aspect to the game.
Speaking of the birds, it is worth noting that I think I have like about 150 cards
it's
or
like
something.
170.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every single card is a unique bird.
Right. And
yes.
It doesn't mean they're that much different. I mean, there's only like 10 or 15 special abilities.
Right.
They can only have so many
slightly
eggs.
different.
They're very slightly different, but
they are different.
Every card has its own art and it's its own bird, etc.
Tremendous.
Oh yeah, I think that's great.
And they make it thematic as well. So, if this bird is a bird of prey, it's going to hunt. And, you flip over and it's going to eat birds that are smaller than it.
Yep.
Or,
rodents.
This bird makes a lot of eggs, so it can stash a lot of eggs. Or, there's all kinds of other things that it kind of incorporated it into the game that really makes sense.
The theme really shines for that. The cowbird lays its egg in other birds' nests.
Right.
Which it actually does. So, it's pretty great.
Well, I will say that the first time I heard about this game, like you, I'm not like a bird person, so on that aspect, I was not trying to go out and play it, but I am glad I did play it because it is an overall good game. So
I think they should retheme it with dragons.
I don't know.
No,
I don't.
I mean, it could be.
It's 170 different dragons.
I think maybe you can make up 170 dragons. D&D probably already done it for you.
I think I like the birds better than the dragons.
I kind of hate that idea.
Yeah.
You hate that idea?
Yeah,
Is that because you don't like dragons? They're animals.
They are.
Matt, what did you think of this?
I haven't played it. I'm assuming all three of you have.
Yeah.
Right? We played it at Lexicon, which for me it wasn't a great playthrough, but then we played it on Tabletopia.
Right. Okay. Just at first glance looking at it, I guess the main thing to talk about is the components. Yeah. There's a birdhouse that comes with. Looks pretty neat. I don't know how awesome
bird feeder.
Is it a bird feeder?
It's a bird feeder.
A bird feeder? Okay.
Yeah.
But then I was kind of weirded out by this weird 3-card tray thing that holds the 3 cards. I didn't really get that.
Unnecessary.
I barely even remember it because when we played at Lexicon, we were on a long table and I was the 5th player. So I'm off the side. Everything else is in the middle of these 4 people.
Yeah.
And I felt like I'm playing this game with them. Are you really? Yeah.
Now I did think it was kind of neat that it's the lid evidently to the component box.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of neat. The art is beautiful, but these cards are disgusting looking.
What do you mean?
Disgusting?
Okay, so you got this real pretty bird.
The brown banner.
And then it's like a white card with just the most blandest looking text.
You mean like the graphic art of it?
Yes, the graphic art was awful.
Okay. I think it's made to resemble a field manual. And if you see those, they're like that.
I've had field manuals. I don't remember them looking like that.
Okay.
I had many a
It's a
ones.
1970s field
Yes.
manual.
I still don't think it looked like that.
That's fair.
I don't know. Maybe they did.
I get the white card though because it's like look at the bird, not how cool we paid a graphic designer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people are shallow.
Yeah, my
Sorry,
eyes
Matt.
went.
I agree with you, sort of.
Yeah. My eyes just immediately went to the whatever font that is, and just the way the text and everything, and it's just that's ugly around that pretty bird.
I just didn't like the brown banner when to activate it. First off, brown is not a good background for black.
Even whenever in the video I was watching,
that's a fair point.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was hard to read whenever they were showing a card. I was like, I can't read. I kind of paid notice to that, but I didn't write it
They
down.
should have put white text on the brown.
Mm-hmm.
Black is just not a good text color.
Agreed. That's a good point.
Which I won't say that it actually was hard to read, But at the same time, I don't agree.
There's
with
other choices that would have been
Yeah.
more optimal.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess they wanted to stick with that earthy tone, but they could have done like a light green and it would have looked way cooler.
Look, just because they did it in the 70s, that doesn't mean it's the
Yeah,
best thing to do.
Continue.
Brown was a 70s. Look, they made everything was brown and the interiors of cars were blue.
Yeah.
So
we
that's
don't,
just,
shag carpet, we don't have it anymore for a reason.
or maybe it was the 80s when it was blue, but whatever. So I liked it. I thought the components are great. First off, the box has how to put it back together on the
yeah.
side of
That's
it.
fine.
That's amazing. Everyone should do
I
that.
don't think I've seen another game that kind of did that as well.
The only other game I've
Wait.
seen that with is like
What?
There's a Queen game that did it.
like
I
if you
thought.
like if you open the box lid on the outer
On the
wall
side
of the
of the box.
base of the box,
Right.
it has a layout of how you put everything back in the box to fit it in properly.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Isn't that cool?
That is
It's
cool.
hard to see. I actually didn't even see it until I only saw it because I had nothing else to look at since I was off in the
Right.
distance. And when I was looking over to try to look at like everyone else's playmats that were like 300 miles away, the box was over there and I was like, oh, did you all notice that? No, like half the people didn't. So
Huh,
it
that's
is cool.
cool.
Probably better in the rule book than because they would be like, hey, by the way, like when the rule book, I can't remember which one. I think it was 5 Tribes. There was one rule book that I read like 2 years into gaming or 3 years or whatever. It couldn't have been 5 Tribes then, but it was a different game. That's like I'm just rambling at this point, but it take your punch boards and put them underneath the game tray to prop it up. So when you put the lid back on, it's flush.
Snug.
When I
Right.
read that, I was like, this is amazing.
Yes.
The point being is put good information in the rule book because people will see it. Anyway, Wasteland Deliveries Express service thing, whatever it's called, it has a how to pack the box back up.
Gotcha.
You know what doesn't, maybe they reprinted it later, but Lords of Waterdeep.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, I don't know where any of this stuff goes, and there's holes everywhere.
It's a great insert. I'm kind of annoyed with it, but it is a great insert.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just annoying because
I
it
thought
doesn't
the
show
rule
you.
book told you on that one.
If it does, I don't remember it.
I think it might.
Maybe. Maybe it's a printing. Maybe the first printing doesn't have it, but later on it does. Because I strictly don't remember it. Maybe it does.
Maybe.
I don't know. To be continued.
No, I don't think it does.
Well,
because-
anyway, Wingspan.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Wingspan.
Birds. Back to birds.
Yeah. We don't ramble that. Well, maybe we do. Usually not in the game topics, but
I would say there's not a whole lot of different types of things that the birds give you, but there is enough there that you can have certain strategies and play differently every time you play and go for, this time I'm going to get birds that give me resources, or I'm going to play all these birds that, let me move around my bird to get the more, most from my actions.
Yep.
it's weird because this would normally be a game that I say you do the same thing over and over throughout the whole game, but it's actually enjoyable in this one. But I do agree. I don't think that you're doing anything like straight up amazing. And there is a massive, I don't know about massive, but there's a good luck factor in.
Yeah, I was going to reference that as well. But
There's a good luck factor. Obviously, it's cards you draw from a deck or whatever, but you couple that with the end of round scoring, you couple that with the end of game scoring, you couple of that with the dice rolls on the actual food,
right.
and that all has to fit together. And some people it might fit together better.
Just because of luck factor.
Just because of luck.
Yeah, so there's times where you have to either roll the dice to see if you can grab a mouse to feed your bird, or you might have to top deck to see if this bird is a certain size to feed.
Those
on it.
I think are okay.
There's just that's also luck factor. Every time you do it, you could
true, but I
find
almost
resources
consider
where you could
those
get
like
a
bonus
VP.
points though.
I mean, to some extent, it is. But
I guess what I was talking about is the in-game scoring might be, or the end of round at one time might be like get eggs
certain nests.
on certain nests,
Mhm.
right? And then you happen to draw a card that has that maybe
That works
complements
out
it that
right.
really well. And then you happen to also, every time it's your turn, be able to see cards that are birds of that type.
Mhm.
And then by the time it gets around to George, he doesn't have any of those options.
He has to top deck.
He has to top deck.
and try to search for
Right.
certain birds.
And so it gets to that
nests.
point where, and the other thing is, which is weird, but the scoring, how's the other? There's two ways the end of round scoring works. One is like first, second, third place or whatever. What's the other way?
The other one is just you get 1 point for each instance of that thing that you have.
Up to a certain amount.
Up to 5.
Up to 5. I don't know if I'd like that, actually. I kind of like the other way.
It's made to be for beginners, I think.
Oh, I see.
You know,
But even
you
then,
feel rewarded for everything you've done, even if other people did it better.
Yeah, that's
Right.
fair. I feel like we tied all the time. Like, even when I didn't win, we tied. Like, that's the first place is always tied on each round. Maybe
not
not the
every
first
time,
round, but like 2, 3, and 4. Like, in all the games we played, I think there was ties.
I was nowhere close to tying either of you.
George was always third,
But,
or he tied for second sometimes.
we will.
Yeah.
Let's
On
jump
our
into
last
one
game.
thing that we've never did. George soloed this game.
Oh,
Yes, I've soloed it twice, and I really like it. And
Yeah.
I don't play very many solo games, so
We don't either.
Yeah.
Unless it's an app.
I think the reason I did it is because it's on Tabletopia, so I feel like I'm playing a computer game. That's a thing I do
Right.
by
Yeah.
myself. You know?
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I never actually thought about doing that. Like, even if I own the game, like going on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator and playing the
It will
single
feel
player.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will, yeah, because you're sitting at your computer. So
Right,
you're right.
yeah.
It is like more of a computer game.
That's why I did it. And you can't own the physical game right now if you don't already, because they're
It's out of print.
it's so
or between print.
sold out. So yeah, Tabletopia is a great way to try it out.
Cool. I think the only other thing I have is that I'm not entirely sure about having the in-game scoring goals and all the end of round scoring because of what I was talking about, like where certain things seem to work better with each other just because you happen to draw those cards. Or maybe it's because if you don't have them that work together, you're almost trying to focus on too many things at once and you can't, which is good, actually.
Right.
But
That's a good problem to have.
it's
yeah.
a good problem,
I will
right?
say you also know, on the fourth round, you know what to go for starting on round 1. So you have plenty of time to kind of work on that as well as doing other things that are going to be needed earlier.
Yeah, but some of those in-game scoring, it's like 11% of the cards, which is going to be really problematic for expansions. But it's like
That's true.
it tells you a percentage, which is nice. But if they come up with expansions, I don't know how they're going to fix that.
I don't think you're going to mix the expansions together. I think you're going to play a European bird game now. And that deck will be 170 birds.
There you go. Right.
Bum,
From
dum.
from Europe, and then you'll play 170 birds in a different deck
They're just printing
from
cards.
Africa.
Printing money.
Money. Printing money.
Give us money.
I just had this idea though, and I feel like they've missed a massive opportunity. Okay, on each card they should have one of those codes that you scan with your phone,
Mhm.
right? And it brings up the bird call.
I had a book like that actually.
Well, the dude that was showing us how to, I can't remember his name now, that was showing us at Lexicon, he had an app that had all of them. So you type in the name and it would make the sound.
What, of Wingspan?
No, it's not
No.
Wingspan.
Oh.
It's a third party, but it has all the birds.
All the birds, yeah.
So like you can look at a bird and say, type in like a couple of letters to make it unique or whatever, and it'll find that bird and play its sound.
Oh, I need this.
There's also a book. So there's
Spoiler alert. Chirp, 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 chirp. I mean, there you go. That's pretty
there's a lot of that.
much- it's just,
But I had a bird, not a bird. I had a book that you flip through, and every page had a number for that bird. And on the front of the book there was, a little device, and
Like
you
a little
put
keypad?
and you put in that number,
Yeah.
and it would make the sound of that bird. So
Kickstarter stretch
There you
goal.
I like the app idea.
I said earlier that it was the last thing I had, but I had one last thing. I do like that this game's rounds get shorter, but they don't feel shorter.
no, right?
Some
Because you
games
have
the rounds
more-
get longer, and you're like, oh my god.
because at the beginning you're doing more actions, but every
Right.
action is you do less, and at the end you have less actions, but you're doing more per action.
Like, as you do one action, it's like activate 5 birds.
Right. But
That's the sound it makes,
even
too.
then, even then, the actions or your player time is pretty short. Your turns don't take very long.
Well, what about the lasting appeal of this game? It's fun to play, but
I think it's there.
I don't
Massive.
think it's like
Yeah.
that different each time.
This is going to be an evergreen. It's going to have so many expansions from so many different
Yeah.
populations of birds, and they'll have different mechanisms, and
Well, I'm talking
they'll-
about base game though.
they'll add in like fledglings and baby birds, and
And
Like-
dragons.
they'll be.
Dragon.
You know what? Probably eventually, yeah. There'll be like Cthulhu birds someday. Whatever.
Right.
It's just gonna keep going.
Do we not have natural penguins in North America?
No,
What?
I don't
No.
think
So.
America.
No.
Like Alaska?
No.
No, the penguins are from the south.
We have them in zoos, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
Penguins are
Is
southern.
that where we're going with?
See,
Do you have
Told
them
you
in
guys.
zoos?
Yeah.
Penguins are southern hemisphere,
Domestic zoology bird.
Yeah.
and polar bears are northern hemisphere.
Oh, fair enough.
So they're never together.
Probably for a good reason.
you learned
Yeah,
something here.
lunch. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I like the game. I don't know if I'd play it 1,000 times. I feel like it's repetitive, but it's a good repetitive, I guess.
Mhm.
Like I feel like because it's only 4 actions, so it's neat to expand it. But if you mess up and like not play a lot that expands the action, then it gets really like, as you're playing the game because you're like that action's still doing nothing. It's
Nothing,
almost, but I
yeah.
have to take it, but I don't want to take it.
Right.
Poor planning, but it could just be the fact that you're never getting cards. That there's
That
plenty
help
of
that
cards,
action.
but I mean, I don't know.
It's an interesting game because it draws in non-gamers. The theme draws in people. They want to play it.
Of course,
But-
if you like birds.
Well, a lot of people like birds.
I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I didn't
don't
care about
dislike
birds.
birds. I don't care about them, but it's a cool theme.
I
It
feel
could
like
be
if-
dragons.
If it was dragons, people wouldn't play it as much. Is what I'm saying.
That would be
but also it's
It would be audience limiting. I agree
Yes.
with that.
Yes.
But
more-
dragons would work as a theme. They lay
so
eggs.
definitely more unique.
They eat things. You can have some that are people, the eaters, and you can have some that
Yeah. And the game is dead
are
simple.
cow eaters.
It's dead simple for gamers. But one problem is it's not that intuitive for people who aren't gamers. So they get drawn in and they want to play,
Sure.
but then
It
you're
might be a
trying to
next step.
explain
Mhm.
how it works, and it there's a bit to the game for people that are brand new.
I think it's simple enough to teach like a family how to play the game, but there's a lot of strategy and depth to not be good at the game for a while if you're not a gamer, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a good game. I like it. I mean, I think expansions for me will be a necessity. I don't think I could play this game 20 times. I would get bored of it after a while. But the times I am playing it so far are really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt, any interest?
I'm waiting for the extinction expansion.
That's
I don't know how many extinct birds we have. I don't know if it'll be 177.
Oh.
No, way more.
Way more? You
Far
think?
too many.
More
Okay,
than you
far
think.
too many.
I thought you were going to like put other people's like the take that expansion.
No. I mean, like
put your bird into
except, like,
extinction.
the only one I could think of is dodo. So I
this
want
is
I want dodo birds.
tragic.
I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but they could have an extinction expansion.
If there's enough, yeah. As long as there's 170.
Quit throwing your trash in the ocean, people.
Thank you.
I don't know. That's not killing birds. That's killing fish. But whatever.
Oh, well,
Thanks,
Like I
too.
said, indirectly would
Pelicans.
kill birds. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that is Wingspan. It's great. From not to speak for everyone, but I think everybody quite enjoys it. So we recommend it. It's the hotness. You probably already heard of it. You're bored with this already. So moving on.
It's great.